read the books, it's like everything I love.
Yeah.
Every single thing I love in one book.
Was there anything that really like triggered it for you?
Yeah, completely.
Cat, but like
well, no, all of it. Well, it's funny because I started looking for something to develop because, and this is where the story gets sad a little bit, but my mom and my mother-in-law and my dog died within the same month. So it was like the worst month of the world time. But I was like, all right, I need something to take my mind off of it. And first it was in a small town, and my mom lived in this tiny town in the middle of nowhere where everyone is in a row house, but it's in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And then my mom-in-law was a psychic who moved to a small town. Oh. So I read two chapters. I was like, all right, I don't know, someone's talking to me maybe? Or
way too eerie.
Yeah, so it's like, there's a little bit of a labor of love for me in it. So yeah, I'm hugely excited.
So you're no stranger to this world of like science fiction, fantasy. How did you pull from your previous work? Did any of it inspire you when you were working on this show, or was it purely kind of you went to a different place for it?
No, I feel like I took. I mean, there's a little bit of a nod to Alias and Olivia's first entrance into town for sure. And no, I mean. Obviously, for me, my favorite jobs have been where a larger-than-life sci-fi or fantasy element is a way to tell a human story. And so this let me do that with all the characters on multiple fronts. Also, I feel like because we've amped up the pace from the books, because the books have this sort of small-town pace, and we're just like really fast moving. So, yeah, I learned how to write an action set piece too, and so I mean, I can't say I didn't draw from all of them, because I did. I also drew from brothers and sisters, to be honest, too, so I think that, you know, all my experiences led me here.
So this show seems like, because it's sci-fi related, it's going to be pretty dark. But there's also, there's a lot of humor and stuff in it too. So how do you find that balance between the dark, nitty-gritty stuff and the funny humor to kind of uplift and like offset that?
Well, I think one of the things I loved about Charlene's book was that these characters weren't mired in darkness. I mean, Manfred sees ghosts everywhere, so death doesn't freak him out in the same way as it would you or I. And so they're used to the world of darkness, but then in Midnight they found a home. So, and I think that there's a humor they have because they're used to the world of the supernatural, so they're willing to like make jokes about it. And
it's not new to them.
Exactly, so they don't have to be afraid. But the forces of darkness are constantly coming at them, and they have to, you know, deal with that. But I think that, you know, one of the things I love about Charlene's voice is she's really funny, and her characters get to be really funny even while they're killing people. So it's fun for me.
So now I'm a little bit giddy because
Okay.
I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to see the premiere, so I didn't know that Manfred sees ghosts because it's not in the book.
Yes.
So are there any other surprises now that I'm wondering?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, how closely do you follow the books, or do you kind of do your own thing?
Like I said, the books, I love the spirit of the characters in the books. So Fiji has this kind, warm innocence to her. Now, Parisa doesn't look exactly like Fiji in the book, and it took forever to cast that role. I mean, pretty much auditioned, I feel like, every woman between the ages of 20 to 50. But, you know, she had that warmth and that honesty and that open-heartedness with this ability to be super strong and intense. And so I feel like I tried to keep the heart of the books, and there's a lot that the book fans will find is similar. But, you know, in the books, Manfred wasn't the lead as much, and we really wanted someone to bring us into town. And so for me, Manfred was a perfect thing. And I love the fact that he sits in an RV with his dead grandma. To me, that's just like, the fact that his grandma...
I was going to ask about that grandma. Are we going to see more of her throughout the season?
She's there. She's there for him. She's his family member.
Okay, so it's not just a premiere.
No. Zilda's a thing, and Zilda's a presence, and... Zilda's me wishing my mom were next to me in the car. So, like, I just love the idea that you get to travel around with the family member that raised you.
So, I'm going to change gears just a little bit because you were speaking of darkness, and I just realized that you have writing credits for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
And you wrote some of my favorite episodes ever. And I just want to know, because I love the character of Grant Ward, and I thought you did like a great job. You wrote The Well, episode, and you did The Only Light in the Darkness. That's my favorite
Oh my
episode.
God, thank you.
I was looking at your credits. It's not all just coming out of nowhere. Can you talk a little bit about your experience writing for that show and what kind of, if you brought any of that sort of inspiration for that kind of like character into Midnight Texas?
Oh, I mean, well, it's funny because when I interviewed for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Marissa, Jed, and Jeff Bell, they had this thing. I don't know if they want me to say this, but when I sat down with them, they're like, we don't want assholes. We want really great people. And I was like, wow, no one's ever said that in a job interview for me. And I love that. I love making intention real. And I feel like between the cast of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which are nothing but warm, delightful, funny people who are like, they're in it together and they work such long hours, but there's a sense of humor and a brightness to them, that it was one of the first jobs where I was like, you can actually hire people that you love to do, and really awesome people. And I feel like I did try and take like the spirit of a lot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with me in terms of the people, the partners in it. And also, I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. again is another genre show that really explores human beings through genre. And so, like The Well, it's like if there's a supernatural story in there, but there's also a kid who is hurt. And for me, it's always important to ground all these fantastical things in something relatable and true, so that it kind of teaches you how to live, or how, in the case of Ward, how not to live in light of abuse. So I feel like, I took a lot from it.
Loved it. I loved it.
So you were on S.H.I.E.L.D., or you did some S.H.I.E.L.D., and both of those have a lot of visual effects.
Yes.
So what can we see visual effects-wise for Midnight Texas?
All of it. All the things. All
Good.
the things.
That's what we like to hear.
I mean, I gotta tell you, when you have an assassin and a vampire and a witch and a psychic, and like, it's like you have all the potential for a story is so great. And we just, like, one of the things we do is every episode we unpack one of the Midnighters. Okay. So, like, for example, episode 2, you're going to learn about the Rev. And the Rev doesn't like the full moon, and you'll know why. But I think every episode has a really different vibe to it, because you're focusing on a different story. So Bobo's backstory is very different from the Revs or Lambs. And so every episode has a sort of discrete style to it that's really fun, I think.
I just ask a goofy question for you. If you were a resident of Midnight, what would you be supernatural-wise?
Oh, man. Oh, that's such a good question. I know. I kind of feel like I don't want to live forever, so I wouldn't be a vampire. Manfred suffers a lot. I wouldn't be Manfred. I feel like Fiji. I feel like Fiji takes her witchcraft very seriously. She thinks of magic as a little bit of a science, and she's a scholar of that science, and so I love that about her, that she's very serious about her magic. And so I think it would be witchcraft. Although, talk to me in 10 years, because it might be like a vampire. And I might want to live forever. So, but yeah, I feel like, but part of me feels like I could be the human there who works in the restaurant, cooks, and hangs out. Because that was the funny thing about reading the books. I wished I lived at midnight. I wish I could go next door and talk to Fiji and go to the pawn shop. Like, I feel like I'd have a really good life at midnight.
So, have you gotten any early reactions from fans in regards to the trailer that came out, and just have you heard anything that like has gotten you excited to see their reactions? Well, and can you tease anything about it for the the book readers and maybe fans who are about to jump in?
Well, I think people have been really enthusiastic about our cast, which are fantastic. I mean, they're fantastic. I always tell everyone I think it took a year off my life to cast this show, because it was so hard to find this many awesome. But I think it's really its own thing. Like, it's really its own thing, and I think there's not a world that there's. I don't know. mix all the great things in a blender. I call this show. It's like, you like action, we got action. You like cars, we got cars. You like hot guys, we got hot guys. You like cats, got cats. So I think that, you know, we do stay true to a lot of the stories in the book, but we take it in our own direction. So I think if you're a fan of the books, you'll see very familiar stories, but we might get to there in a different way.